You are good to
go for it.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Digital Speakeasy. My name is Brian Macgregor. I get to host you this evening or this afternoon. We're broadcasting live from the world famous Docks Clock right here in the Mission in San Francisco, one of the best nightlife districts, I think, in the country. What we're going to do today is take a little bar crawl around the neighborhood. We have Miss Karri from Wild Hawk, which is literally right around the corner and one of the most lovely bars here in town. We have Mark DeVito from Standard Deviant Brewing to talk about the beer scene here in San Francisco. He's got a great little brewery just down the street. We have the world famous Virginia Miller to talk us through some trends and what's happening in the food scene. Old friend, has been writing for over 15 years on the bar and restaurant scene. We have Miss Katy on the keys to bring us some music and some songs and keep it late and easy. And we're just gonna kind of pop around, talk to each other a little bit, talk about what we're doing in our projects to keep ourselves busy. And after that, we're gonna talk about what's happening in the Mission and kind of like the pioneering spirit of San Francisco and what makes the city so unique. You know, the great Julio Bermejo always reminds us, never forget how lucky you are to live in San Francisco. We live in a world-class city that is one of the most unique places on earth. And previous speakeasies we've gone around the country. James Darcy took us around the world. I'm just gonna keep it local and keep it fun and just kind of talk about our little town here, our little space of earth that we occupy and what makes it so special. So that being said, we're gonna kick it over to Karri, who dropped a surprise guest on us out of nowhere, who brings in Jessie Messi, one of like my favorite, funniest people in the world. There she is. And this is so cool, guys. We have 2 Speed Rack winners on the same screen. These are the fastest bartenders we have here in San Francisco. This is a competition. If you guys don't know Speed Rack, it is the most grueling thing in the world. I wouldn't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. I go to watch it every year and I get nervous for my friends. So Karri, why don't you talk us through Wild Hawk a little bit, whip out the fastest cocktail you know how. And Jessie, what a great time to have you here. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Take it away,
Brian
ladies.
asked me if I would make a Speed Rack style cocktail, and there's really only one way to do that right now, and that's invite the actual fastest bartender in San Francisco to come and make us a Rob Roy. So Jessie's gonna do that, and Jessie also, oh, am I counting you down?
No, well, eventually, I hope so. We're gonna do it real fast.
Yeah, let's do it fast. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah, okay. Should we count her down? 3, 2, 1, go.
Guys, I don't know how to bartend anymore. What up, Garnet? Oh, that's a cocktail.
Yeah. She did it in Jessie Flair.
I don't think you can see it now. It says, hi, Brian.
Oh my God,
that's
that was
amazing.
Wait, where's
that?
It
Was
ran away, but it's somewhere in there.
that was so amazing, Jessie.
So fast.
I just can't. What have you guys both done as previous winners? What do you guys do to prepare for Speed Rack? Like, I can't even I can't even wrap my head around the tasks that you lay upon yourselves.
Well, we work together a lot, which I think is the coolest part. One of the best parts about Speed Rack is how much time we get to spend with each other and learn from each other and really just feed off each other, practice out of each other's bars. Jessie currently runs the program over at Elda, so another Mission neighbor bar. So spend your money at bars in the Mission. We're all doing to-go cocktails.
To-go cocktails if anybody's thirsty. We're 2
you
to 8
are?
today, and I think you guys are the same. 2 to 8.
2 to 7, Thursday through Sunday. Yeah.
What are you finding as like some of the more popular cocktails that people are taking to go? And do you think they're drinking at home or drinking on the street?
I think that they're drinking citrusy, refreshing drinks as soon as they possibly can.
I'm not saying that I think a lot of Elda bottles end up at the park, but I think they do. Probably, definitely.
I mean, we're so fortunate. We have Dolores Park just a few blocks away, right? And that place is packed this weekend, but very, very responsibly packed. If you saw the pictures, everyone was actually literally 6 feet apart. Like,
Dolores Circles, we have one of those on our menu now.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Our cocktail menu.
Yeah.
start drinking at your house.
Yes.
Not at the park.
And then, Karri, you mentioned last week something, you got a promotion, is that right?
Oh, well,
Are we talking about that?
Before the shelter in place happened, yeah, at the end of last year, I was promoted in the Plum Jack group to the bar director for the group. That has obviously changed and morphed itself a little bit during the shelter in place and bars closing. And the group is amazing, and we've all really come together to help each other. I'm going to be having the Balboa Cafe bolognese and burger meal kits to go starting this week. So yeah, some marina food to the Mission, and yeah, they have some of our cocktails over there. So.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Yeah, doing what we can.
Can I get a burger from there on the French bread? I love that thing. Or the Cobb salad? Can I get the Cobb salad?
Maybe. We could talk about it.
Putting in the request now.
Yeah.
Yes, Donnie, I am pre-ordering for myself right now. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. That was awesome. We'll get back to you guys. We'll talk a little bit more about what you guys are doing, what's happening in our respective places. Let's kick it over to Miss Katy for a little whiskey song.
Yeah.
What's the use of getting sober when you're gonna get drunk again? Oh, hon, you did me something fine when you brought me that whiskey, beer and wine. I love my whiskey, I love my gin. Just fill up the bathtub and I'll dive right in. What's the use of getting sober when you're gonna get drunk again? What's the use of getting sober when you're gonna get drunk again? Oh, honey, you know it's pretty fine. I love all that good whiskey and that wine. I'm not saying whiskey is my only friend, but it's stronger than most good-looking men. What's the use of getting sober when you're gonna get drunk again? I love my whiskey, I love my gin. They turn water into wine, so I know it ain't a sin. What's the use of getting sober when you're just gonna get drunk again? When you're gonna get drunk again as soon as possible. When you're gonna get drunk again.
Woo! That was fantastic. Katy, you want to put your virtual tip cup up in the comments? So if anyone wants to throw you a couple bucks, we can take care of you today. Thank you for being here. That was fantastic. Let's swing it over to Miss Virginia Miller, who's coming live from the Upper Haight, the famous Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, one of the coolest neighborhoods in the city. Virginia, how are you today? Besides being on mute, there you are.
There I am. All right. I'm
Good to see
good.
you.
I have lived in the Upper Haight 10 years now, but 18 years ago when I moved to the city, I was in the Mission my first few years. So it's my other home.
Absolutely fantastic. You and I have known each other a long time now. I mean, I remember the first time you sat at the bar Jardiniere with me. I don't even think I knew you were a writer at the time. And I served you and your husband Sazeracs.
Oh yeah.
And I almost brought it down. I still have the plaque of the article you wrote about this Jardiniere Sazerac hanging up in one of my rooms at the spare room in my house, which is really not very big because I live in San Francisco. I almost brought it down today, and I was going to show it to everybody. I forgot.
Oh.
But I still remember that. We've been friends ever since. You're so amazing. Tell everybody what as a writer, what do you guys do? What do you, as a observer of the cocktail industry and the food industry, what is it that, besides writing, what entails your daily job?
Well, of course, we're talking what normally did. So the last couple months are abnormal, but I've been writing about this stuff professionally for 15 years and obsessively following restaurants and bars for 20. So one of the things that's a little different about me is my volume level. I am truly obsessive. When I love something, I have to try everything. I cannot make an informed decision until I've tried it all. So I was, even back then, starting to keep spreadsheets, and I've been to over 11,000 restaurants and 20,000 bars around the world. So in my old life, I was traveling half of every month as well. But I've been, in my young nerdy years, I've been to so many places. I've been to everywhere in the Bay Area. I mean, everywhere. I know this city like the back of my hand. And I used to have my restaurant guides and my bar list, and I'd mark them up until I'd gone everywhere, including East Bay, Napa, Sonoma, South Bay. I'm obsessed. So I do the same internationally, travel all the time, write about it. I judge all over the world too, locally, nationally, internationally. So I'm just obsessed, and I love that deep dive into everything. I love it. I can't get enough.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're a huge advocate for, I mean, literally, someone literally just dropped the mail at the bar. You're a huge advocate for a lot of us out there. You know, you're such a an inspirational personality. Like, you're always so positive, and you're just such a I would never call you a critic. I'd call you an observer. The way you treat a lot of us industry folk. So thank you for that. That's actually really amazing, I think.
Well, and
there's so many things to ask you and talk to you about right now, and we gotta keep this a little tight. Like,
no.
All right, what's the biggest annoyance? Like, we talked about this earlier. Like, I don't want to go down this negative rabbit hole, but like,
yeah,
what's like the one annoying trend you've seen? I have my personal opinion on what my annoyance is, but like, I want to hear yours as like someone who observes our industry at large. What's like the biggest thing that's annoyed you've seen in 15 years?
It's not that it's a trend so much. Well, I get annoyed with lack of context and knowledge. Ignorance kind of bothers me, and I don't mean, you're talking to someone that moved across the country by herself at 18, fully self-supporting, so I've never gone to college, but I'm a huge self-studier. I deeply, deeply, deeply study, and when people kind of talk about stuff and don't have any context from where it came from, the people who originated it, how it evolved, that kind of bothers me sometimes. Not that I expect everyone to know, but a lot of times people kind of make statements about a food or a drink category or a city, and they really have no context. But I also get annoyed by, I hate to say it, this is a little mean, an unadventurous palate. It kind of just really bothers me because I've hated tons of things and converted myself to all of them over the years. And some of them I love more than others. Some it takes me 5 years to like it. Some it takes 10, but you can train your palate. You can like anything, and you maybe haven't had the best versions or had it the right way that you're going to like it, but you keep trying until you do. And so there's nothing worse to me than going out with somebody that just won't try anything or is against 2/3 of what exists.
So you're against ignorance is bliss. You don't believe that?
I don't believe that. It's not bliss. Trying everything is bliss.
Trying. On the flip side, what is the biggest difference you've seen in the mission? You said you moved here originally, and we'll get to this. I'd like to hear Karri chime in on this too, because Carrie's been a big part of the mission for a long time, and so has Mark. Maybe do a quick roundtable. What's the biggest difference you see in the mission now than you did, say, 15 years ago?
Well, there's the easy argument that it's more hipster and it's overrun, blah, blah, blah. But almost 20 years. Shirt? Yeah, it's you. Yeah. Brian is basically what went wrong with the neighborhood, but anyway.
Mark will agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Did bring some problems, which we're trying to correct. But I think, I saw that hipster segment was there 20 years ago too, and I always felt and still kind of feel, even though there's some real hip businesses on Mission Street, I still feel like that's one of the things I love the most about the Mission is you can walk down Valencia and you've got that kind of hipster galore from the clothing shops to the types of restaurants and bars and the bookshops and used bookstores and everything that are along Valencia. And then you go over to one block to Mission Street and you've still got a ton of 99-cent stores. You've got, Mexican street side carts selling their, their bacon wrapped dogs or their fruits,
The danger dogs,
or whatever. And it's still, that hasn't gone away. And I still feel like in one block, you can kind of get this whole cultural shift. And the Mission to me is still all of those things. It still is our densest Mexican and South American, Central American population. It's great El Salvadorian food. It's great, the best taquerias in the universe besides Mexico. I mean, it's just the best. I love it.
I have a lot of big companies and big corporations and chain restaurants and stuff. I think more than a lot of other neighborhoods in the city, the Mission has really somehow been able to keep that together.
Yeah, it's still pretty independent after all these years, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we have places like Wild Duck and Standard Deviant and Doc's and Foreign Cinema, you know, is one of my favorite places. Elda. Get into it, Jesse. Let's get into it, Jesse. Calm down. Take a deep breath.
Well, I was gonna say, in my neighborhood, the Haight is really independent too, but the food is not near as good in the Haight. There's a few spots, but the Mission, it's world class. Like from block to block, I could give 50 places, and we're still talking world class food just in that one little neighborhood.
Yeah.
How far apart are they?
How far apart's the Mission from the Haight?
Yeah.
Mile and a half?
Drive max. It's about a mile and a half, maybe.
Okay. That's
25-minute walk.
Compact. Yeah, very compact. And I grew up suburbs of LA and New York and New Jersey on the New York side. And what I love about San Francisco is how walkable, and the neighborhoods in a few blocks, your whole world can change. And it's very world class and competitive with cities 10 times its size, but it's very tiny, 7 by 7 miles, and very compact and vibrant, really vibrant.
Yep. Cool. Well, Virginia, thank you for being here. I appreciate your friendship so much. Like I said, we go way back.
Yes.
We'll get back to this conversation. I want to make sure Mr. Mark DeVito gets a few words in here. He is not quite as loquacious as the rest of us, but he is one of the funnier people I know. And once he gets started talking, you can't shut him up. So Mark, you're broadcasting from your brewery, which is literally 6 blocks from where I'm standing. Talk to us about Standard Deviant. Talk to us about the brewery, your process. I have a couple questions I've always been needing to ask you, but I never have. So we're gonna do it live instead of like.
You're gonna do that. You're gonna do that in front of people. The question. I'm pretty sure. I've seen the way you look at me, and I'm pretty sure I know the questions. But we'll get to that
They're
later.
They're all judgmental.
Yeah. So just to you know, I was worried coming into this I was going to talk too much. So I think I took the wrong dose of edibles, so bear with me for this conversation, guys. Should have done sativa. Oh boy. Anyway, so yeah, we're Standard Deviant Brewing in here. It is a great little ex auto body shop that our landlord used to run the auto body shop. She wanted to retire, put us in here, and we just started making beer and trying to get out into the world with beer that's fun, because we're, we like to have fun when we drink. We think beer should not be serious, except for when we're talking about our ingredients, which is, we have the coldest tasting beer in San Francisco, because we use 100% all natural cold flavoring, organically sourced whenever possible.
What does that actually even mean, to be cold flavoring? Is it like MGD, where MGD was, cold?
No,
filtered?
I think that's cold filtered, and like you can brew stuff at colder temperatures. We actually dump a bunch of cold flavoring into every batch.
Is that like a flavoring component? It's like essential oil.
Yeah, it's why it tastes so cold. When you start drinking it, you can taste how cold it tastes. That flavor of cold. Like, it doesn't matter if you put this in the microwave, you can still taste that cold flavoring.
That's fantastic. It explains so much why your beer's so good. The one question that I've always wanted to ask you, and I almost asked you when I saw you earlier today, to pick up the beer for everybody else. Here in Northern California, we see a lot of breweries going like 100% experimental, right? Like Hen House and Fieldwork and Alvarado. I feel like you guys went the opposite route, and you kept this, you make 5 core beers that are just absolutely stellar. Like this Kolsch I'm drinking is amazing. Your porter, hands down, one of the best porters I ever had. I drink it every chance I get. When Shelter in Place first started, I was literally drinking all the porter from Doc's Clock. I'd fill up a growler here from my friend who owns the bar and take it home with me. why did you choose that approach to making like simple fun beers versus bucking the trend of like going crazy experiential?
Part of it's that part of it's that just my business partner and I always wanted to make beer that we like to drink, and you know, I grew up drinking like Budweiser, right, and Pabst, and like, you know, we thought that these like simple beers were a good starting spot. We also think they've been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Like Kolsch is an old style that made it through everything. So we're like, let's make stuff that isn't just hopping on the latest trend. I think, you know, it adds hopefully some longevity to it. I love all the experimental beer. Well, I love most of the experimental beers. Some of them, I think there's a special place for them, and it's not in my stomach, but to each their own. Sorry, Virginia. I am open-minded with my palate and my tasting. But you know, we wanted to make consistent beer, and we have a lot of fun making a recipe. And like, you know, Paul and I will sit here and we'll taste it like, oh, I think we put like a little too much malt in that one. I think that, you know, it's fun to refine these things over time. And you know, we still haven't produced our best beer, and I don't think we ever will.
What? Okay, this is interesting. Then, when you guys are doing your samples, how large is a batch when you're doing your sample batches? Is that like a 5-gallon batch of beer? A 40-gallon batch?
So we do 10 barrels, so 310 gallons is like the smallest amount of beer we make. So let me tell you, if it's not good, it's funny that this must be kismet. We've always called it the Macgregor Special when we have a bad beer, and I never put it together until I saw your last name right here, that your last name is Macgregor. But yeah, the Macgregor Special is just how it's like super cheap, but it's really boozy.
Cheese.
Seems about right. Yeah, it seems.
Yeah,
I was like, you just describe my life in the beer. That's
no,
cool.
I mean it's tough, right? It's luckily there, you know,
it's tough being a McGregor.
Yeah, no, you know, it doesn't. Basically, it takes the same amount of time for us to make 10 barrels as it would do to make like 5 gallons in the brewing process. So like, we may as well make a big enough batch that if it works, we can get out there. And we taste it the whole way through. And Paul's really smart. He's definitely the brains of the operation, and the looks, if you know what I mean. So I'm sorry he couldn't join us today. But yeah, so it's you know, it's all pretty calculated. And
so then with those McGregor batches, I'm going to own this, by the way. Do you just put it in the tap room and just sell it off for like $2 a pint just to get rid of it? Or
yeah,
you just dump the whole thing?
No, we've never made a beer that was so bad that we had to dump it. And I would say we actually haven't made any bad beers, but much to the, you know, adventurous nature that Virginia's looking for there, we've made some beers that are really fucking weird. That like, you know, they come out and I'm like, ooh, I think that is just offensive and awful. And we sell it with everyone who is behind the bar when someone orders it, like, this is a polarizing beer, just so you know. And then some people are like, that's disgusting. Give me a Kolsch. And other people will be like, that's the best. That's like unique. That's like a weird like cheese. Like, you know, it appeals to people's palates in different ways. We would dump it if it was unhealthy for you, but just because it's weird doesn't mean you can't serve it.
Sure. I'm looking through who's on the call. I know there's some big beer enthusiasts on here. Now that you're doing the 12-ounce cans, which is what, a week old?
Yeah, I think 10 days ago. It's the 15th. Yeah.
Will you ship beer to the East Coast?
We will do whatever we can that's legal.
Fair enough. Because I know Jeremy's on this call, and Jeremy and I used to trade beers. Like, I'd ship him a 6-pack, he'd ship me a 6-pack. And at one point in time, I shipped him 6 beers, maybe it was 12 beers from Wisconsin when I was back home visiting. And the same day, I shipped myself 12 beers from Wisconsin to California. He got his beer and I didn't get mine.
So good. It was so good.
Yeah.
I think it was Third City, if I remember right. It was what I sent to you, which is it's like the standard deviant of Milwaukee. All I do is like core beverage style beers that are just amazing.
And I remember that bummed you out, and it's kind of stifled your enthusiasm for shipping. And now I feel like, you know what? I'm going to send you some stuff from Relic, and as soon as I can, just to snap you back out of that. Virginia,
some
you'd be
stuff.
very happy. There's a lot of weird beers happening in small little Connecticut that I try every single one.
And
They don't all have to be good. Try them all. Yeah.
Amen. You're preaching to the choir.
I guess that being said, I'll have to send you some standard deviant because I don't think Mark could send it to you.
Throw my hat into the ring with that as well, please. I'll send you this great thing from Pennsylvania called Rolling Rock. It's the best beer around.
Yeah.
Send me some of that beer too. Come on, man. There's a lot of other East Coast guy that loves beer on this call.
Tommy's about to have a baby. He needs some beer.
All right.
What a generous exchange.
You want in on this? Come on, everybody. Everybody, put your address in the chat, and we're all going to send each other a beer. We need that now.
Except for
Just
me, because I
one.
would hate to violate any rules.
Everyone send Mark one beer. Just everyone send Mark a beer. Standard deviant doesn't get a lot of mail these days, so we need to get him something there.
I thought we were going to talk about that. I thought we agreed that we weren't going to talk about the lack of mail.
Your loneliness. I apologize. It came out. I'm sorry, Mark. All right, Mark. Thank you so much. One other shout out to Mark when the owners of Doc's Clock moved down the street. We had to move it 1 block away. Mark was one of the people who showed up with his pickup truck and literally looked at me in the eye and said, "Let's do this shit," and actually helped us move the bar 1 block away. So thank you, Mark, for that. Thank you for your friendship, man. You're absolutely fantastic. Your beer is amazing. Let's kick it over to Katie one more time for a song, and then let's get to a little roundtable discussion about what makes San Francisco great and unique and the pioneering spirit we have. But first, Katie, get it off.
This is a song I wrote about San Francisco. It's a little bit on the bitter side, but some people enjoy that flavor. San Francisco, why won't you leave me alone? I know it's you who keeps on calling me and then hanging up the phone. San Francisco, tattoo on my eyes. I can't believe a single silky word of your elaborate lies. Your patron saint talked to the birds. He was a crazy homeless hippie without a dime. I tried to leave 100 times, but when I feel your sweaty hand against my spine, when I taste your whiskey lips so close to mine, I have to dance. San Francisco, you got me right under your thumb. I've been waiting with a handful of change, but only Google buses come. San Francisco, they just can't keep us apart. I saw a new eviction notice just down the street from where I left my heart. With your tall ceilings and your small town sex, your salty tongue straightening my curls, a new condo on a corner strewn with e-cigarettes. But when I feel your sweaty hand against my spine, when I taste your whiskey lips so close to mine, I have to dance. San Francisco, the same name stay on your marquee. Why go to LA to sell your soul when you can give it away for free? Your patron saint didn't care for girls. He found God in an ad in the back page of the Bay Times. The only thing colder than your summer is my landlord's smile. But when I feel your sweaty hand against my spine, when I taste your whiskey lips so close to mine, I have
That was like the
awesome.
ultimate love song, yet diss song
That's awesome.
to our home, to our city. Like there's so many parts of that song that hit like home. Like I live in the heart of the city here. Like everything you said makes sense. It's like, oh fuck, I know that guy. I know what's happening. I apologize for swearing. It's a kids show, kid friendly.
Family, because they're your family. No one else can, but you can say mean things about yourself.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit. Like, where do you play around town?
Well,
Yeah,
for the last 9.5 years at the Comstock Saloon, which is where I met.
Oh,
And before
we
that,
love Comstock.
I do too. I played for many years at Martuni's. Many years. And in fact, I got my job at the Comstock because of Alicia Walton from Martuni's and Comstock, and now C Star.
I forgot that she worked at Martuni's. She did, didn't she?
Yeah. When she was.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Comstock. On the last time I hosted, we did Comstock. We had Johnny on the call, and obviously, he looms larger than life for most of us. That's great that you played there for so long. What do you use for your inspiration for your music? Like that last song was straight like out of the streets of San Francisco. Like, what else do you use to gain inspiration?
I really just write what I feel, what I'm feeling. Sometimes kind of, on the sassy. I'm not like the sweetest of people, so sometimes my songs are a little bit, salty or whatever. But I just write what I feel.
That's fantastic.
I think you're sweet. You're very sweet. Don't say that. You're wonderfully sweet.
You can think that now. That's good.
Well, I just realized we haven't had a cheers or a toast yet. We should all raise a glass. For those of you guys on the East Coast, it is 5 o'clock. For those of us on the West Coast, it's mid-afternoon, and there's still work to do, but we should still have a drink. Let's give a cheers up to everybody real quick. Karri.
Cheers.
I'm going to drop one on you. You got another drink in you to make us, or are you just hammering them down?
Do I have another drink to make you?
Yeah, why not? Imagine that. You're a bartender who has to make a drink.
In a bar that hasn't been open since mid-March.
Like she's like, what am I supposed to do? I have nothing here.
Juice some limes for you real quick.
What about your RTDs?
Yeah, we've got some ready-to-drink cocktails here for sale. Let me grab one for you.
See? Fastest hands in the West. She can make a drink just by popping a bottle. While we wait for her to get a drink, we'll talk about, give a little preview for what's coming up the next 10 minutes or so while we wrap this up. What I really want to talk about with Mark and Virginia and Karri and Katy, by all means, chime in here, is how we've seen our city. San Francisco is 150 years old as a city, more or less, 170. And let's talk about like the pioneering spirit that like brought the city into the forefront of the global spectrum. And like, what is our favorite parts of what San Francisco is or was, and where we see San Francisco going forward. While we wait for Karri to pop in, Mark, why don't you chime in from the brewery? Where do you see like San Francisco going forward from here? I know you've been part of many local bars, just in the Mission and around town. Where do you, and as a brewer now, where do you see, what was your favorite part of San Francisco, and where do you see it going forward?
From the lens of just someone who's lived in the Mission for 15 years, not having anything to do with my business or anything, just kind of like what I've always thought of the city. The city's always been changing. It's always had the ups and downs. And what drew me to this place, I grew up in the East Coast and came out here in the year 2000, much like the song, in the year 2000. And I was like, wow, this place has everything. I was like, I got off BART at 16th and Mission, and I was like, holy, like, look around. This is everything I could imagine in one place. And the vibe was great. And it had this, like, always had this sense of, like, strength of being able to bounce back and change itself and come through creatively. And I'm looking at this situation right now and, like, trying to be, as optimistic as possible, considering the state we're all in this business. But being like, all right, there's a big opportunity here to have the city reinvent itself. And I think the people that stick it out right now are going to be the creative, fun, like San Franciscans that drew me here 20 years ago.
You just used a word right there that literally perfectly defines San Francisco and reinvention. I've been out here 15, 16 years, and I've never thought of it that way. Like, this city literally just reinvents itself like every 5 to 10 years based on the population. It's always moving forward. That's such a cool thought, man. I never thought about that. Karri, as a fellow missioner who's been here for, God, like, again, 15, 16 years, what do you see happening?
With cocktails? Or just with the vibe
with
and the energy of the city?
With the neighborhood, with the vibe and the energy, you know, like Doc's Clock, they're located below a SRO, but it's a tech SRO, so it's completely different than the ones in the Tenderloin. You're literally 2 blocks away from here. Like, what do you see where we were and where we're going?
I think one of the constants from before all of this happened, and hopefully something that's carrying us through this and is going to stick around after, is just the neighborhood camaraderie that happens. I have neighbors coming in constantly just checking in on us, people dropping emails, you know, checking in, see how we're doing. Our neighbors upstairs are constantly checking in. My neighbors up directly above Wild Hawk are school teachers, and the principal of their mission middle school reached out and wanted to get gift certificates for the teachers that live upstairs. Yeah, the community here is, unparalleled. And Brian, I think I gave you a cocktail when you came by today and dropped off beer, right? Do you still have it?
I think I accidentally left it there because I had to rush out of here. It's still sitting on the bar top. My Caipirinha, that's the one.
So
I will pick that up. I will pick that up on my way home.
Drinks to go. We have 4 different ice pops right now, which is super fun.
That's awesome. Sorry.
What? Wait, 4 different ice pops? What other flavors do you have?
Right now we're doing a Dutch Daisy, a Caipirinha, a gin apple nori, because it's, you know, we're weird, and a pisco and guava.
At the risk of being really weird, in all my spirits judging this past year, they added a category of boozy pops. I judged boozy pops.
As they should.
Medals, for gold, silver.
Where did you judge boozy pops? What competition was that?
Well, I judged for SF World Spirits, IWSC in London, all these, but this was for ADI, Craft Spirits International. We've judged RTDs for years, but they added in, there's enough boozy pops out there being made now. They covered them up so they were blind, and I won't demonstrate. But anyway, it was the most interesting judging ever.
The next time you're walking to the park, just swing by and grab some ice pops.
Yours are good. I know that Wild Hawks are going to be gold medal. No question.
I literally I pay attention to trends. Like, the bar industry is my life. Like, the booze pop thing, I had no idea was a thing. I officially feel old now. Thank you.
Heard it here first. That means when it starts, RTDs we started judging maybe 6 years ago, and they've only gotten better and better. So watch this space now. That means they'll be on the rise.
I didn't know that they were a thing or that they were judged at ADI this year. I just had a weird idea, and then I told my team that I was doing it, and Suzu told me that he just bought some from Costco.
Okay, this plays in perfectly like what I want to talk about, and I really want to have this discussion with all my guests. You know, with Katy, with Karri, with Mark, and Virginia. Like, this is the pioneering spirit of San Francisco. Like, if you look back at the history of our city, right? It really was founded Gold Rush era, right? Obviously, it was before that. There was a township here, but not much. But Gold Rush, from here on, it's just like a boomer bust city. What is like your favorite part of like the history of San Francisco? There's so much. Compacted in such a small time. You know, if you go to Edinburgh, you're like, oh, the town of Edinburgh, like, there's bricks here that are older than America as a country. Like, you know, a millennial old brick on a street. But here, we're 150 years old. But there's so much that has happened here. Like, what is your favorite part of San Francisco's history?
Well, I totally geek out about this subject and study it like crazy. So at the risk of getting nerdy, I won't. But it's just talking cocktails and drink alone. Like, in the 1860s, you know, Jerry Thomas in his heyday was bartending here. We had bars, crazy bars going on. We had saloons that were, I heard some of these bars that serve 500 different cocktails. And, of course, we had the earthquake that would, potentially destroyed everything in 1906. And we bounced right back and had a crazy scene again, not long after. And, it's when you look back on all the, craft beer, 1960s Anchor Steam, Fritz got the idea to do a better quality beer. And that was
I want to hear Mark's opinion on that one.
Yeah.
Like,
I love Anchor Steam.
brewer.
I love Anchor Steam.
Yeah, and craft distilling, 1980s, 1981 to 83, you already had St. George, you had Germain Robin, you had the Karakasoviches up in starting Charbet, doing brandies. You had these guys all distilling in the early 80s, and then even Anchor again distilling Junipero gin in the 90s. This predates the Renaissance globally. It predates all of it. Wine, of course, we pioneered New World wine in the Bay Area. So there's just an obsessed history, and bars, it's a whole other thing. But here, one thing I love, sherry was popular, Amari bitters, Fernet was popular here even before it was trending in New York. As someone that probably grew up there, I would always come here when what's going to be the next big thing. It was always geeky underground here years before.
Right. We, Karri, you were part of this. Mark, you were part of this. Virginia, you've observed it. Katy, you were playing in the bars. The whole whiskey revolution that we've seen here and globally was kicked off here, right? Like, we started drinking whiskey and making whiskey cocktails before literally anyone besides New York. Karri, what bar were you working at about 10 years ago? Was that Comstock, or were you before
I opened Comstock up in 2010. And before,
where were you before that?
Before Comstock, I worked at a bar in Noe Valley. That's not there anymore. It was called Noe's.
Oh, that was great. That bar was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started working there in 2004.
Jesus. So what have you seen change throughout the city? Like, what was your favorite part? Like, working at a historical saloon. What kind of talk about your view on the past and where you see where we're headed.
I think, again, it's just camaraderie, and the reason that it's been an easy industry to get into and stay into in the city is because people love to sit at a bar here. People like an entertaining bartender, or a bartender that remembers your name and your drink and your, family's last vacation and stuff like that. I think that was something that I learned. I came here from Georgia and was a bartender in Georgia, and then worked at a neighborhood sports bar and learned that it kind of carried over into a sports bar, and I quite enjoy sports. So that was an easy transition for me to fall in love with the city and the Giants at that time. And then moving over and having the privilege to work with Jeff and Johnny and see that cocktails don't have to be snooty. It can also still be fun bartending, and you can curate regulars and have that fun energy behind a bar, even if you're, making quick Manhattans and old fashions that are delicious. So fun. That's what's great about bars. Fun.
That's why we're all here, right? Like, we're trying to create something that is bar-like, but to the best of our abilities for another couple weeks.
And that's what people miss right now, is seeing that face and just sitting down and having a delicious drink or a cold beer made with cold ingredient and
Cold flavoring.
Cold flavoring.
The cold flavoring is nothing without beer. You really need that cold flavoring in there to make Standard Deviant such a special beer.
Coldest tasting beer in San
Coldest tasting. Continue this discussion. Katy, actually, this is interesting from another standpoint, right? Like, I'm a lifelong bartender. Karri's a lifelong bartender. Mark's a lifetime bartender brewer. What have you seen as a musician, as someone who occupies the space of a bar that is either changing or you look forward to coming back to, or as a musician, as someone who provides probably the second most important part of a bar? Like, the booze is probably the most important part, but atmosphere is incredibly important. Like, what do you see as your favorite part of the history of San Francisco and going forward?
Well, I would say that my favorite part of music, really in any live setting, is the people who are there. Otherwise, I play music at home, I do it every day, but it's not the same. And that is what it is people. And San Francisco has gone through changes. You know, in the 90s, there was live music everywhere. There were all these rock bars, like with everybody had a band and everybody was doing shows. And that's not really the way it is now. But before that, you know, in the 50s, it was a huge jazz scene. It was like huge. And
Right.
really, then, you know, it keeps changing and it always will. Like ever since, like you said, people have come here to find their fortune. They always will. And those of us who stick together, you know, we figure out how to make it work, and we're close. We're like a family. And you know, I do
Yeah.
even to the Barbary Coast, there were so many bars in that one little area, and they all had live entertainment. And I'm suspecting that when we can get back together again, people will want to have live entertainment again. They will want a live. We've been looking at screens. It seems like forever, but it's only been a few months. And I think people will, you know, be with a live person who's making their wallpaper music.
Yeah, you just hit on something. I love live music. I love bars. You hit on something really key there. Like, this city's always has a history of live entertainment. You know, when you read the history of San Francisco, Barbary Coast was literally every bar next to each other had like live music and entertainment. And I feel like it's faded a little bit, but I think coming out of this, I think more people are going to crave that. You know, like there's only so many digital jukeboxes that you can like rock, but the fact that you can go to Club Deluxe, you go to Comstock, you can go to, you know, what's here in the Mission over on Valencia,
Royal Cuckoo.
Royal Cuckoo, and you can listen to live music, will just add that other level of entertainment that we didn't realize that we were actually craving. And that's a really great point.
I know we're talking about the Mission here, but in the Haight here in my neighborhood, which of course Haight-Ashbury is a very famous music history, there's people playing in the parks all the time right now. There's one guy that brings a full-on piano and is doing like a ragtime kind of sound. He's got his mask on. He rolls a piano out into the panhandle and is playing 2 or 3 days a week. And
Awesome.
it's all right now through this. And it's just like a light. It's like somebody put a light on and you just go, oh, thank you. What a gift.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I've seen your social media posts about that, where it's right there in the Panhandle Park.
Yeah.
Mark, what are you guys doing at Standard Deviant? Like when you guys reopen, are you guys doing any live music, or are you just gonna do play Fish and Grateful Dead and shit?
Just a lot of
Here
like.
Here comes a bus. I'm pushing you in front of it.
Yeah, I love Fish. You can't see it here, but I'm working on the bald guy dreadlocks in the back look right now. That's my quarantine look. And man, I'll tell you what, I've got some sweet calluses on the bottom of my feet because I just feel you really can't get in tune with the earth if you're wearing shoes, brother. Yeah, we will. There's only one Fish song ever allowed on in here, and it's when one of my idiot friends who loves the band comes in. I play him one song. He has to then buy me a drink, and then he has to get the fuck out of here. So we will not be playing Fish. The Grateful Dead's a great band, and actually that's one of my favorite parts about San Francisco history is like what they were a part of in the whole Haight-Ashbury community. But yeah, I don't know. We're like, you know, we got a limited live entertainment permit shortly before this went down because like before bartending I was in music as a background, and I think it's really important to the city, and it's like stupid that people can't just have somebody in a corner playing an acoustic guitar without a really expensive permit. It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But so we did it. We got the permit and had just started doing more entertainment and live entertainment. And, you know, I think everything's on the table for when we get back. But that's something that's dear to my heart that we'll make sure, you know, I think there's probably a great market for having live entertainment, and hopefully we can roll a garage door up and we can use our outdoor parking spaces for people to hang out responsibly and just turn this place into like a more of a music venue.
That's amazing. I had no idea. Maybe you bring Katy. Do you guys want anyone real quick? We're coming up to our 1 hour time here. Does anyone have questions? Like the last time I hosted a show, we had we broadcast from Doc's Clock, which is a neighborhood bar. We went to a classic bar of Comstock. We went to PCH, which is a very progressive bar. On this show, we have like another level, right? We have Mark, who's a brewer. We have Katy, who's an entertainer. We have Karri, who runs a very progressive bar. We have Virginia, who literally eats at like 6,000 restaurants a year. Are there questions from people on the Zoom call? I'm not managing the Facebook feed, so if there's questions on the Facebook feed, Tommy, please chime in. Do you guys have questions for this amazing panel of people we have here? Has anything popped up in the comments? I apologize. I'm going from my phone, so I can't see my comments.
I am seeing comments. People want beers.
Okay, Mark, get on that shit. That's
Brian,
your job.
I think Brian, just based on the chatter in the comments, it's probably best you don't read them for your self-esteem.
No, seriously.
Well, good thing I'm not sensitive.
Do you see any more cocktail trends, or do you see stuff that is starting to make its way back? Where you're like, God, I haven't made one of those in like 10 years. Because even from the time I started bartending to like the time it ended, all of a sudden like everything would shift. But then every now and then you get these requests for like weird one-off classic cocktails or something like that. So because y'all are such a bartending and sort of mixology-based mecca, do you see a lot of weird, quirky cocktails coming back?
Yeah, I definitely think everything comes in waves. Again, with the privilege of being at Comstock for 6 years, the classics just happened over and over and over again, and they were drilled into us, and we needed to know them. With the Barkeep's Whimsy option, I encouraged the staff to do any sort of classics and would quiz people on classics and kind of keep that in the forefront. And when somebody pulled out like a Cosmopolitan as a whimsy, like people love it. A well-made drink is a well-made drink, you know? Yeah. And to surprise somebody with a really well-made Cosmopolitan or lemon drop, you know, that they can be very delicious. There's a reason they've been around. But people get a little bit nerdy, and then that wave will kind of pass. So we get a little bit more of like the modern classics kind of coming up. A lot of the like New York kind of Greenpoint, Red Hook, those drinks will, you know, get thrown around to see if we know them. And that happens occasionally, I think, but everything in waves. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say too, just bringing up maybe obvious bars, but like True Laurel, things like Nick has been doing there the last couple years will be like fermented Shinko tonic, or he's made his own guava wine out of California guavas, and it smells floral like guavas, but it's really tart and acidic, and he'll use that as a backbone for a cocktail. But True Laurel's casual and hip. It's definitely progressive. So I still see stuff there that I don't see in the thousands of bars I go to around the world. Even this past year, I'm like, I've never had Shinko tonic or guava wine, but it's in a real casual vibe and it's not pretentious. We're not seeing a lot of fancy stuff, but I still see cutting edge things here that I haven't seen in the rest of the world yet.
Yeah. The cool stuff about here too is we have like a lot of local farms and production of a lot of different heirloom stuff. So you'll see these heirloom style fruits and vegetables getting used in. And I just love that, because if it's not in a high end, really kind of stuffy place, like you don't feel like, I love like cool, cozy, but then the cocktails are just amazing, because then when you have that crazy craving for them later, you're like, oh, I can just roll in there whenever I want and go get one. It's fine. It's fine.
That's exactly how I feel, just like 20 years ago, always having to go to these password bars, and just in New York and San Francisco 15 years ago. I mean, those of us that have been around those a long time were over it a long time ago. And I love jazz and elegant settings. Believe me, I'm an old school girl who's got a record collection, and I was into martinis before I could drink just because of the concept. I love old movies. But when you can have a place that does that level, and I think that's where San Francisco's been a long time. You can get any level you want, but with a lot of fun and hospitality.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what really makes a bar.
I think the key that we've heard here, and Karri really drove it home, and it's something I've always talked about, is like community, right? And having the ability to walk into any bar you want, have a drink, hang out, and have a sense of community and have a sense of like connecting with other people. It's one of the things that's made San Francisco great for so many years, whether it be at the most highfalutin cocktail bar or at the neighborhood bar that just does beers and shots. And having people like Katy playing music is really what makes the city so unique. And I know Evan's on this call. Again, Nashville, I feel like it has probably the same thing, but a larger music scene, and New York's great like that as well. So really cool stuff. We are coming up on our 1 hour mark. That flew by. I'm going to kick it over to Katy one more time to give us a little outro, leave us on a little upbeat moment here on the West Coast at 3 p.m. If we want to keep talking and keep messing about, let's do it. But I really want to thank you everyone for showing up today. Guys, I appreciate everything. Thank you guys, all of you on Facebook, for being here. Let's raise a glass. Say hello to everybody. We love everybody so much. We're going to get out of this together. And Katie, take it away.
All right. I was planning to end today with another San Francisco themed song, but after some of our conversation, I feel like I have to do a little bit of this song by the V-Boys. Cold beer, hello. I got something to say. I can't keep you long, but I can put you away. Well, you look so good, I just can't say no. Tell the world goodbye. Cold beer, hello. Well, I can't wait to see you on my lips. I cannot wait to feel your body. You make my knees so weak when you look like this. You'll have me on the floor for no time. Cold beer, hello. I got something to say. I can't keep you long, but I can put you away. Well, you look so good, I just can't say no. Tell the world goodbye. Cold beer, hello. When the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay, well, I wanna be there in my city. So you think you're lonely? Well, my friend, I'm lonely too. I wanna get back to my city by the bay. Oh. When the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay, well, I wanna be there in my city.
Oh my gosh.
That was awesome.
I've never liked that song until now.
I
That
literally
is
watched
literally just,
everybody in San Francisco on the Zoom just melt. They were just like, ah.
yes. I have never ever liked, I was like, that song annoys me, but now I'm just like, I love it. I want to hear that over and over again. Thank you so much. Scott Krinsky, rumor has it you have a question you want to ask. Yes, I see you, brother. What's up, man?
Questions for Mark. When is he still here?
You better be.
I just had a question for Mark. When this we could go back bowling, can Karri and I have a rematch?
Anytime. Yeah. I got a new ball. Oh, I have a trophy I can bring out if you want to see it.
I have a trophy too.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I can't wait
Karri's
to
the
get
best
back
bowler
on
I know.
Oh, can't wait to get back out there.
Me too.
I know.
Virginia, I just want to say Virginia as well. Now that you mentioned it, I broke out a vintage bottle of Joe Manuel Robin brandy.
Oh, now I'm jealous. The old stuff's the best. The old stuff's the best.
So good. And until you mentioned it, all of a sudden I was like, oh wait, oh no, oh I can.
Good call.
It is so amazing. They do such a good job, and I just totally forget about it. And you're like, what I need is heirloom apple brandy right now. So.
Oh yes.
Oh my God, Evan, send me some, brah.